For USCFootball.com, I'm Keely Orr here with Dan Weber for instant analysis of USC's Wednesday practice of Colorado Week. The Trojans return to Howard Jones Field and shoulder pads only, as we're accustomed to seeing on Wednesdays. Clay Helton said third downs were emphasis today, and they also focused more on Colorado. The bye week was more of focusing on USC, and this week was all about focusing on Colorado.
Right, and the problem is Colorado does different things every week. They line up and with different guys in different positions. They're a team that likes to, trick plays. They've got a big, strong quarterback who can shake people off and keep plays alive, bigger than, Sam Darnold and Steven Montez. And then they've got Laviska Shenault, who, does just about everything. A big, strong, powerful, wide receiver, runs great patterns, but they also use him as tailback in the Wildcat. And he's just been very, very difficult to stop. But because they do different things and because they like to run trick plays in there, they give you kind of something. If you're going to hang your hat on, we're going to try to focus on them this week, and yet you don't know exactly what they're going to do, that makes it a little tough. I mean, there's some people who would say, we're going to focus on ourselves this week, and we're going to make them stop us. But USC it's kind of a tradition with the last three coaches. Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian, and now Clay were all quarterbacks, and they're very much oriented to plays and how do we run the plays and, or what do we run, as opposed to how do we run it so tough and so hard, so physical, and so perfectly that they can't stop us. And that's the big, the big question, in terms of approaching the game. Are you going to look at them, try to stop them, try to, counter punch to what they do? Or are you going to go out there, punch them in the mouth and say, you stop us? That's been kind of the issue with USC's approach to football.
Yeah, but in that same vein, USC's defensive backs and the secondary and Clancy Pendergast were asked, how do you stop the dynamic duo of Montez and Shenault? And what do they have to say to that?
Well, especially, starting with the trick plays. I know Talanoa Havanga said, they give you a lot of eye candy and they do a lot of, motion or this kind of thing. He said, you just got to, not fall for that. You got to basically, when they cross the line of scrimmage, you got to get after them. You just can't be, influenced about all the, formations or the motions or all of that kind of stuff. You just basically have to, just forget that and just get into the what are they doing and where are they and how do we stop them. I think stopping them on third down is a big deal. Getting them off the field and for USC, staying on the field on third down is a big deal. Montez and Shenault can't hurt you if they're not on the field.
Yeah.
So, the third down emphasis, I think today, is a good thing. But USC has to really perform more flawlessly. I think they just have a tendency to, sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. And that's just probably not going to keep being good enough. Yeah. I mean, you've won, a 3-point game and a 4-point game in the Pac-12. But, and I know they feel, good about being at home. You've got the 18-game win streak. They've never lost to Colorado, 12 straight games. So, from those kinds of, you feel good about it. And yet, I think this is the week. I think they know we have to make it work this week.
Yeah.
We got to turn it around. We got to start, this week and next week, we got to take over the Pac-12 South. And I think it's to be determined how, does this team have the ability to play 60 minutes? Does this team have the ability to make play after play after play? I don't think we know that.
Yeah, and as far as USC's consistency on offense, you and I have been talking about all year how USC practices. And something that we talked about today, but it's something that they've been doing this whole season, is during offensive drive periods, even if the play doesn't really develop well, if the play gets blown up, they don't tackle the quarterback, obviously the scout defense. So JT normally has time to get the ball off. There's usually a catch or something like that. So it looks like a successful play, but in reality, that's a sack. That's a play that did not work well, but the team just moves on. They don't start over, try and get the play right. They just move on in their script. Do you think that's successful? Like, if the play's blown up, how in a game are you able to mentally get out of a hole that way.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think maybe there does need to be some more reality introduced to, you can't just say, okay, we got that play, now let's go to the next play and the next play and the next play. You would think you would want to say, let's get that play perfect, and then let's go to the next play, then let's go to the next play. That hasn't been the philosophy here, in a while, and I think you want to set a tone in practice that absolutely we can get this done in practice, and that's what you take to games where we ran that thing, we ran it, and you would like to say we ran it against somebody who was really, giving us trouble on defense, and we were able to make it work with them, and we're going to be able to make it work Saturday. If you haven't done that, you end up in a Saturday situation where you're hoping it works, but you're not sure it's going to work.
Yeah.
And, I think that comes to play on some of the goal line situations, some of the red zone situations, some of those short yardage, 4th and 2 or whatever. If you haven't, just really busted it in practice, you don't maybe have that reservoir of confidence that you're going to be able to do it in a game. And I think that's a big part of what practice is, but I'm not sure that's where they think practice is. We may think it's one place, and they may be thinking it's another place, and we shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. Maybe agree to disagree in that sense with some of the coaching staff. But as far as injuries go, it's a pretty long list at this point. Most of the guys from bye week return, but Cam Smith still has that nagging hamstring. He actually left practice early with ice on his right hamstring, so that is a slight concern. Helton said they're still going to wait to evaluate to see if that will be a concern on game day. Porter Gustin has been limited all week. Helton said they will have to reevaluate too. You got to talk to Porter Gustin about his status. What do you have to say?
Well, I asked him if it was 100%, and he gave the perfect answer. He said, I'm 100% sure I'm going to play Saturday, but he clearly isn't 100%. I think we're a little surprised how that ankle hasn't responded. I think he was much more optimistic last week that it was going to be fine. And so I think there's more uncertainty about where he's going to be this weekend than we thought there would be. And then, Toa Lobanon doesn't practice today at all. I mean, this is a week with back spasm. This is a week you're going to get, the snaps down. And one thing you notice with like Brett Nealon, for example, how much easier it is for JT Daniels when that snap is like right there every time. It's got that, from your belt up to your chest. And he doesn't have to go down looking for the ball. He doesn't have to take his eyes off of the field. And one of the things JT's so good at is reading the field and seeing everything. And he doesn't have to take his eyes off the play or the defense if the ball is snapped there. If the ball is snapped down low, where it too often is, he has to take his head, go after the ball, locate the ball. Then he has to come back up and reorient himself to the play. Watching, one good snap after another, you realize what a difference that makes for, it theoretically, but seeing it in action and seeing JT's eyes never have to leave the field or the defense, which is one of the things he does so well, for a young player especially, makes you wonder where's that going to be Saturday if Toa's only been able to practice once this week.
Yeah, and other guys, Brandon Peely was examined during practice because he got stepped on. He actually lost his toenail. He left and had x-rays and then came back. He was able to hobble on his foot a little bit, so not sure where he's going to progress the rest of the week. And then Jay Tufele did not practice again. He did do some running. He looked pretty good physically, which if we want to speculate, maybe that's a head injury, a concussion protocol thing. So it looks like USC's D-line could be a little banged up going into Saturday.
Yeah, banged up is right before the game. That's probably not where you want to be, is banged up, before the game. And wear your seatbelt, I'm guessing, from now on, if you're a member of the USC D-line. But guys maybe have to step up. I mean, they've got guys who can step up. I'm not sure they've gotten them all to where they hoped they would be after 5 games. I mean, we watched, for example, Vavai Malapai, breaks free and gets a deep ball, and he's maybe 25 yards down the field. and he's, running to the end zone. And here comes Giuliano Falanico, and he just runs him down and grabs him, and boom, that's it. And you think, wow, that's a big, almost 240 pounds outside linebacker who just ran down your tailback. You think, wow, there might be a place for that kid on the field, you would think. But you're just not sure, are those guys ready to be on the field? I don't think we know.
Yeah. And just to clarify, we don't actually know if JT Fele wore his seatbelt or not.
No
that is
idea.
Dan recklessly speculating right there. But as far as this game on Saturday, you mentioned the stakes. Colorado hasn't been 5-0 in a very long time. They haven't won against USC ever. Do you think that will happen? Do you think this USC team is ready to play a tough-ish Colorado team? They haven't fully been tested yet, but do you think that they can take them on?
I think the realization that this is the week you got to turn it on and turn it around and make it happen, I think that kicks in. USC does play with a confidence at home. I mean, you won 18 straight games at home under Clay, so I think there's that confidence going for them. They've got more players than Colorado has.
Yep.
Colorado's done a great job, with this team, Coach McIntyre, but. You would think it kicks in this week after the bye and the whole realization that, you just got to show up and play hard, play smart, don't stop yourself, don't commit penalties, do all the things you can do, even if you don't always necessarily practice them. And you can beat this team, and then you got to go beat Utah. And then you take over, the Pac-12 South. I mean, this is a team that could win out until that Notre Dame game. They could be 9-2. And the whole world's watching when Notre Dame comes in to see if they can, get into the playoffs or not. But it's there for USC, but nobody's going to give it to them. They got to make it happen, and we're not sure. They make it happen some of games, and they've held on in the Pac-12 last two Pac-12 games. But this has to be, I think, a week where things turn around and where they just say, okay, we're good enough to do this, and we're going to show you that we're good enough to do this. And, will that happen? Again, we keep saying it every week. Stay tuned. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, I think you can fast forward to every Wednesday instant analysis and we just go, we'll see. And I think that's this USC team this season. But that's going to wrap it up for Dan Weber. Ooh, we almost got hit by a soccer ball. That's going to wrap it up.
I was watching it all the way.
Thank you. For Dan Weber, I'm Keely Yor. For more, check out uscfootball.com.